Hello, Xers and interwebers. Welcome to Naive in the 90s, the podcast. I'm your host, Emily. I was a 70s baby, an 80s kid, and a 90s troublemaker. On today's episode, well, I'll be honest, I didn't really decide on a topic. It's December, and the chaos of the holiday season is in full swing. So instead of a definitive topic, we're just gonna wing it and ramble a little. As promised, I do have a few guests coming up, but I figured I'd wait until after the new year because, I don't know, it just seemed right, especially because I am so unprepared this week, and because I have a specific topic planned for my New Year's episode, and B, a couple of my future guests are understandably nervous, since none of us are really podcast or interview people. I mean, I literally started this on a whim and at the end of October with no plan or guidance. And another of my guests, well, we have literally gotten together 2 or 3 times now with all the intention in the world to tape at least one episode, if not more. And instead of recording, we've just ended up hanging out and laughing way too much. But I do promise it is happening. But before we get into it, a quick passage from the creative nonfiction book, Naive in the 90s, now available on Amazon. June 1st, 1992, Monday. A lot has happened since I last wrote. Like, Mom and I are hardly talking. She's mad because I carved JM in my arm. She said I did it even though she told me not to. But I did it a week before that talk. And why does she care about those? They aren't even deep, more like light etchings. It's not like she's ever even cared enough or noticed all my cat scratches and mystery cuts I do all the time. But this she has a fit over? So now I really am a loner. All I have are my friends and Jake. God only knows how long that's gonna last. On Saturday, May 30th, we, RFK Junior High, had our semi. Kim, Zach, Aubrey, Jake, and I got a limo. It was so cool. The limo driver was pretty hot, so Aubrey asked him to go to the dance because her boyfriend stood her up. Well, the driver told her he couldn't because he was married. The dance was actually really fun. Jake and I didn't detach from each other hardly at all night. At one point, Bill came over to us and goes, "It was so funny because you guys were slow dancing to Nirvana. It was great." I love Jake so much. When the semi was over, the limo brought him home first. I was going to go up with him to say goodnight and all, you know. We got up to his steps and his mom opens the door. It was about 12:20 midnight and she says, "Hi, Jake, did you get a picture?" "Yes, Mom." "Jake, honey, shoo the bugs away." Then she was just like standing there in the door, smiling. So I said, "Well, I guess I gotta go. Bye." Because it definitely seemed like she wasn't going to leave until I did. And I certainly wasn't going to kiss her son in front of her. I couldn't believe it. It's like we have a no-kissing relationship now. But oh well, I still love him. It'll be 4 months on the 11th. Sunday, I was confirmed, and Mom gave me the cross necklace that Graham and Pops had gotten her. She also gave me a letter. I cried like a baby. She just left it on my bed. I didn't really see them at all. I actually spent the day over Kim's with her family at her confirmation party. Must be nice to be celebrated. I wonder what that's like. Anyways, I'll write more on Friday, 'cause it's class night. Love, Emily. Smile. I love Jake a lot. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff to unpack there, I guess. So the first part of the passage was about how I had carved my boyfriend's initials into my arm and how my mom got mad. A couple things stick out to me about this. First, I 100% remember this, the carving, the conversation, her getting upset. Now, in no way do I condone this behavior, and if I'm being honest, I probably knew it wasn't a great idea then too. I mean, I was 15, the relationship was not that serious, and the subject of self-harm in general is actually something that needs to be taken seriously, as it is indicative of bigger issues. But at the time, and I cringe a little saying this, but at the time it was almost normal. Well, maybe not for the normies, but definitely self-harm for aesthetic and self-therapy was a thing for a lot of people I knew. A couple of my friends had done the initials, and of course, more than a few people had done the ever popular lighter smiley face brand. I don't remember exactly what or who prompted this specific carving other than my little girl obsession with Jake, but I do remember that one or two of my friends had done it before me, and I, being a masking insecure girl, quickly jumped on the bandwagon. In my mind, it looked badass. It would prove my love and commitment to Jake, and I was already a cutter, so this seemed like an easy move. And although I was already a cutter, when I wrote that I carved the initials, I mean I literally carved those letters with a large safety pin, like those super thick ones. Actually, that safety pin also was used to pierce my ears multiple times and even my belly button. It's all so bad. But I was, like I said, already a cutter at this point at the end of ninth grade. I was very into it. I don't remember how it started, but it was one of my go-to activities. I usually did it on my upper thighs or on my arms. The weird thing is I don't remember ever really even trying to hide the ones on my arms. They were usually on my forearm. Sure, I wore a lot of long sleeve shirts at this point in life, lots of flannels, sweatshirts, sweaters, long sleeve button downs, but definitely not always. And also, I feel like part of me was just hoping that someone would notice, and not only notice, but care enough to say something, reprimand me, check on me, ask me if I was okay, what was wrong, anything. That concern that I was so hopeful that someone would have at some point did not show up till at least 1997 or 1998, when my boyfriend, who I did end up married to, told me if he saw that I did it again, that would be it for us. That now, having a young daughter, I could not continue to allow that to be something that was okay. God forbid she would see it and think it was a normal thing to do. I don't know if he really would have left, but that was it for me. The risk of losing the small family that I was building was too much, and that was it. At the time of this diary entry, though, no one cared. A couple of my friends noticed, but they also cut, so it was more that we compared than anything. Like, literally, we'd be like, oh yeah, I did this last night, and I used whatever it was, a knife, a razor blade, broken glass, pins. This was the exchange, not concern, which is disturbing to think about now. Even grown-ups, teachers, seem to be more annoyed by it. Some would literally roll their eyes when they'd see new cuts or bandages. My mom even. Now, she may not have known exactly what was going on, but also, I kind of feel like, how? I distinctly remember one time I had really done a number on my forearm, and when she saw and asked, I made up some cockamamie story about how in school the art teacher had me and a friend move a pane of glass, and we dropped it and it broke, cutting us all up. Like, broke in straight lines against our forearms. I remember the look on her face of disbelief. Not that we had gotten her or that the school was having us move panes of glass around for some whatever reason, but glaringly that she did not believe me. But that was it until she saw the JM on my arm a few weeks later or so. And then even that, it was more about the fact, or at least it seemed to me that it was more about the fact that I had some boy's initials on me and was following this trend that I had told her about a few weeks before. At this point in our relationship, albeit the end, I was still telling my mom pretty much everything. In full disclosure, I had already done the carving, and that's why I had told her about the others doing it, so it wouldn't seem like a big deal if she saw mine. I don't really understand my logic, but yeah, it was a preemptively thought out thing to cover my ass. Like, somehow it would be okay since everyone else was doing it. It was not okay, and no, not everyone was doing it, and even if they were, that does not make it cool, but my dumb little brain thought it made sense. And I'd like to point out that even though this is how I thought my mother felt at the time, we've never actually discussed this, and I don't ever imagine bringing it up, but I'm sure that her perspective or memory of all this is completely different. And I'm sure the actual reality of both of our parts and, awareness of what was going on is actually totally different than both of us remember too. So, I don't think that it was a case of she saw that her daughter was, doing something harmful and she ignored it. I just think maybe she was hoping that I wasn't. At this point, I'd just like to take a moment and say, if you or someone you know self-harms, please, as uncomfortable as it can be, please bring it up. Discuss the reasons why. Find help. Self-harm is a coping and defense mechanism stemming from greater issues. Please, 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 go get help. Go talk to anyone. Okay, so the next part of the passage talks about our 9th grade semi-formal. In our school, this was a huge deal. It was basically a prom, but for our junior high. When you were in 6th or 7th grade, it was one of those things you totally looked forward to. And it did not disappoint. It was amazing. It was the whole prom type experience. From getting the perfect dress to hoping that special someone got you a beautiful corsage. A lot of us got limos, because that's what you do. Or at least that's what we all did back then. My group of friends and I got ours, and we're so excited. And what did we do? We went to TCBY and got frozen yogurt. I know, rebels, party animals, but it was really fun. The dance was actually such a big deal, it wasn't even at the school. It was at a rented banquet hall, a smaller one than the real proms were at, but man, did it seem perfect at the time. They served us food, we had a DJ, and the whole thing was just really a blast. Honestly, it was better than any prom I went to, and I think I ended up at like 5, I think. But yeah, it was so fun. And come on, how many times can you say you slow danced to Nirvana and totally unironically? To be young and in love and carefree. And then the confirmation part of the reading. So this was at a time where the tension between me and my parents was approaching an all-time high. Like it was critical mass. The pot was beyond boiling over and was starting to burn. I actually don't remember exactly what was going on between us, my parents and I. If I'm being totally open about this, I do remember us not getting along extra badly. My father was completely not speaking to me, and I do mean at all. I'd say goodnight, and he'd either grunt or stay totally silent, not even glancing in my direction. I remember them not going to my confirmation, but my mom just dropping me off, which sucked. Everyone else had proud parents who were happy to be there, and I had literally no one there for me. In fact, my confirmation sponsor was Kim's dad, so even though he stood beside me for the actual ceremony, he wasn't really there for me, but for Kim. I was just more her pathetic best friend, at this point for years, who had no one and couldn't even find a sponsor to stand before God with. It was so sad, like sad in every aspect and meaning of the word. But yeah, I don't actually remember why I was in that serious of trouble at the time. In fact, my memory failed me until I found the diary. I thought I was on the outs with my parents because of a knife incident that happened at a fair that ended with me being picked up from the police station. But after reading my old diary and this entry, as well as the one from months later about the fair and the knife thing, I realized they were apparently mad because of something else. And I don't think this reaction was because of the initial carving, but I don't know. Some mysteries just stay mysteries, because I'm certainly not going to ask my parents. We've done a lot of work to heal the damage between us, and I just don't feel comfortable asking. It just doesn't seem like something that's worth bringing up, even though it's been so long and I feel so removed from these people that we all were and the events that happened. It's kind of like remembering a reoccurring dream or an old movie that you've seen like a million times, but also not in a long time. Like you know it and you can feel it, but the details are murky and faded. Yeah, I don't know. Life is so weird. And sorry, but I am going to go on a little tangent here. I also don't think kids should be getting confirmed. Like, confirmation is agreeing that what they taught us in CCD class and in church is what we believe and intend to follow for the rest of our lives. It's making an agreement, a soul pact almost, with God and the church. But how can you really know what you truly believe at 14 or 15? In fact, I did end up deflecting from the Catholic Church and actually any organized religion just a couple years after this happened. I just think more time should be given to make such big decisions and commitments. Our brains are not fully capable of making well thought out, rash decisions until our frontal lobe is fully developed, as this is the area responsible for understanding decisions and consequences, and it isn't fully developed until around 25. It just seems weird to make soul promises to an organization, a belief system, and a god before then. But hey, that's just me and my eccentric heathen self. So yeah, rant over. Well, Xers, I think that's about it for this time. I'm sorry again for the lack of topic or structure or anything for this episode. And, who knows, maybe this is just what this podcast is destined to be. Just me babbling randomly at myself. I mean, why not? It almost seems fitting and appropriate at this point. But yeah, I think that's it. I swear I will keep trying to figure out this whole show thing and keep trying to find my footing and hopefully improve more and more as we go. I'd really like to talk more about, some core Gen X stuff. Cartoons, sitcoms, music genres, the clothes, toys, movies. There's so much. And hopefully I will find my flow and somehow a way to discuss these things organically, whether by myself or with guests. So stay tuned. This could turn out to be amazing, or it could be a trash fire. Only time will tell. Thank you for joining me today for Naive in the 90s, the podcast. I hope you come back in 2 weeks for a new episode. We will be talking about New Year's Eve. Woo! Who's ready for 2023? Or maybe the question should be, who is ready to be done with 2022? I know I am. Thank you again for joining me. For any comments, questions, or whatever, you can message me at naiveinthe90s@gmail.com or connect on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok with the handle @naiveinthe90s. And don't forget to get your copy of the creative nonfiction book, Naive in the 90s, now available on Amazon. Hope to see you next time. Peace and love, my dudes.